The beeping of the hospital monitor was my only companion as I stared at the message on my phone. My fingers trembled as I read it again. "Dear, this is paradise. I'm having fun. Get well." Attached was a photo of my husband, Liam, his arm draped around Melanie, my supposed best friend, both sporting golden tans and blinding white smiles against the backdrop of turquoise Caribbean waters, the trip I had paid for, the trip we were supposed to take together to celebrate our 10th anniversary. But instead, I was here, with metal pins in my leg, a fractured pelvis, and the taste of betrayal bitter on my tongue. 3 days ago, I had been at the peak of my career. Silverman Family Imports, the business my grandfather started and my father expanded, had tripled its profits under my leadership. At 38, I was the woman who had it all. The successful business, the handsome husband, the sprawling house overlooking the bay, and a circle of friends who seemed to adore me. Or so I thought. The accident happened on a rain-slicked highway. A truck swerved and my car spun out of control. The doctors said I was lucky to be alive. When I woke up in the hospital, groggy from painkillers, Liam was there, his face a mask of concern. He held my hand and promised to stay by my side. "The Caribbean trip," I had whispered. "You should cancel it." "Of course," he assured me. "Nothing matters more than you getting better." 24 hours later, he was gone. Along with our friends, Melanie and her husband Jake, my college roommate Allison and her boyfriend, and 2 other couples from our social circle. All of them, enjoying the luxury resort vacation I had arranged as a surprise. All 8 of their flights, accommodations, and experiences, paid for on my platinum card. The nurse entered the room, interrupting my thoughts. "Ms. Silverman, your vitals are looking better today." I forced a smile. "When can I leave?" "The doctor wants to keep you for at least another week. That was quite an accident." As she adjusted my IV, my phone buzzed with another message. Liam again. "The resort upgraded us to the presidential suite. The view is incredible. Wish you were here." My blood boiled. Did he think I was an idiot? Or was he just so self-absorbed that he couldn't see how cruel this was? I opened my banking app and stared at the recent charges. The upgraded suite. Champagne service. A private yacht excursion scheduled for tomorrow. All on my dime. In that moment, something inside me hardened. The tears that had been threatening to fall dried up. I had built a successful business by being smart, strategic, and decisive. Now it was time to apply those same skills to my personal life. I called my assistant. "Fiona, I need my laptop and some files from the office. Can you bring them to the hospital immediately?" "Of course, Emily. Is everything okay?" "No," I said, a strange calm settling over me. "But it will be." Within an hour, Fiona arrived with my laptop. I asked her to stay, taking notes as I dictated a series of instructions. 1. Contact my lawyer, Judith Winters, for an emergency consultation. 2. Freeze all joint credit cards and accounts I shared with Liam. 3. Cancel the remaining reservations at the Caribbean resort, effective immediately. 4. Begin compiling information on all company assets and personal property. Fiona's eyes widened as she realized what was happening, but she nodded professionally. "Anything else?" "Yes," I said, opening my email to send specific instructions to the bank. "Tell Kenneth in IT to change all my passwords and remove Liam's access to company systems." After Fiona left, I closed my eyes and tried to make sense of how my life had fallen apart so quickly. Had there been signs? In retrospect, perhaps. Liam's increasing interest in my business's finances, the way certain friends always seemed to be available when there was something expensive planned, the subtle comments about how lucky I was to have inherited such a successful company. My phone rang. It was the resort in the Caribbean. "Mrs. Silverman," the manager began, "there seems to be a problem with the reservations for your party. The system shows that everything has been canceled, but your husband is insisting there must be a mistake." "No mistake," I replied coolly. "The reservations have been canceled. My husband and his friends will need to make other arrangements." "I see," the manager said carefully. "Would you like us to inform them or—" "Please tell them the cards on file have been declined and that they should contact their banking institution." I hung up and waited. 20 minutes later, my phone exploded with messages. First from Liam. Emily, what's going on? The resort says everything's been canceled. Then from Melanie. Em, there's some mix-up with the hotel. Can you fix it? And Jake. Hey, hope you're feeling better. Quick question about the reservations. I ignored them all and instead called the hotel directly, asking to be connected to the presidential suite. Liam answered, his voice tense. Emily, what the hell is happening? They're saying we need to leave. How's Paradise, Liam? I asked, my voice steady despite the rage burning inside me. Look, I know you're upset. Upset? No, Liam. Upset is what you feel when someone takes the last cookie. This is something else entirely. I can explain, he began. I'm sure you can, but save it for the divorce attorney. There was a long silence. Divorce? You can't be serious. The resort has a 4 p.m. checkout policy, I said, ignoring his protest. I suggest you start packing. Emily, be reasonable. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. We don't even have return tickets for today. And I just checked our accounts. They're frozen. How are we supposed to? Perhaps one of your new best friends can help you out. Melanie seems particularly generous with other people's money. This is insane, he hissed. You're overreacting to... Goodbye, Liam. I hung up and blocked his number. Then I blocked everyone else from the trip. One by one, their names disappeared from my contact list, like stars blinking out in the night sky. The nurse returned to check on me and noticed the tears streaming down my face. Bad news? She asked gently. I wiped my eyes. Just the opposite. I'm taking out the trash. She gave me a knowing look and discreetly handed me a tissue. Good for you. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of the physical pain, though that was considerable, but because my mind was racing. Liam and I had been married for nearly a decade. I had trusted him completely. Had he been playing me all along? Was our entire relationship just a calculated move on his part? As dawn broke, my phone rang from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Emily, Liam said, his voice strained. Please, just listen. How did you get this number? I blocked you. I borrowed the front desk phone. Emily, we're stranded here. The hotel made us check out, but we can't get flights until tomorrow and none of our cards are working. That sounds like a personal problem, I replied coldly. Look, I know I made a mistake, but this is cruel. We had to sleep in the lobby last night. Despite everything, I felt a twinge of satisfaction. Consider it a preview of your new accommodations when you get back. What are you talking about? I've changed the locks on the house. You can't do that. It's my home too. Actually, it's not. It's in my name. Check the deed. There was a pause, and I could almost see him processing this information, realizing how vulnerable his position actually was. Emily, please. His voice softened, taking on the persuasive tone he used when trying to charm something out of me. Let's not make rash decisions. When I get back, we can talk about this. I made a terrible error in judgment, but I love you. Save it, Liam. I'm not interested in your version of love anymore. At least send us enough money to get home, he pleaded. After that, we can sort this out properly. I considered it. Not because I felt sorry for him, but because I wanted him back in the country. It would be easier to serve him divorce papers that way. Fine. I'll have the hotel issue you a credit for economy flights home. Nothing more. Thank you, he said, relief evident in his voice. Emily, I promise when I get back. When you get back, I interrupted, you'll find your belongings in storage and divorce papers waiting for you. Don't bother trying to come home. You're not thinking clearly, he said, his tone turning condescending. You're emotional from the accident and the medication. We need to talk when you're in a better state of mind. His attempt to gaslight me only strengthened my resolve. My mind has never been clearer, Liam. Enjoy the flight home. I hear economy class is particularly uncomfortable for overnight journeys. I hung up and immediately called Judith Winters, my lawyer. When her assistant informed me she was in court, I insisted on speaking with her paralegal. I need to initiate divorce proceedings immediately, I told the young man who came on the line. And I need to secure my assets before my husband returns to the country. Of course, Ms. Silverman. I'll have Ms. Winters call you as soon as she's available. As I set down the phone, I noticed a text from an unknown number. It was Allison. my oldest friend from the trip. I know you're furious, and you have every right to be, but there's something you need to know. Things aren't what they seem. I need to talk to you. Alone. I have information that will make this all make sense. I stared at the message, my finger hovering over the block button. Could there possibly be an explanation that would justify what they had done? What could Allison tell me that would make any of this make sense? And yet, a small voice inside me whispered, "What if there's more to this story than you know?" Before I could decide whether to respond, another message appeared. It's about Liam and Melanie. They've been planning something and it's worse than you think. Check your home office. Behind the painting of the lighthouse, there's a safe you don't know about. I froze. The lighthouse painting was something I'd bought on our honeymoon. Liam had insisted on hanging it in my home office, even though it didn't match the decor. How would there be a safe I didn't know about in my own house? And more importantly, what was inside it? I couldn't wait a week in the hospital, not with Allison's message burning in my mind. After pleading with my doctor and promising to hire full-time nursing care, I was discharged 3 days later. The pain was excruciating, but my determination was stronger. My driver, Zachary, helped me into the car. I'd known him for years. He'd worked for my father before me, and he was one of the few people I still trusted. "Take me home, please," I said, settling into the back seat with my crutches. "You sure that's wise, Ms. Silverman?" His eyes met mine in the rearview mirror, concerned. "Mr. Silverman might be back by now." "He's not," I said firmly. "And even if he was, it's not his home anymore." The ride was silent after that. When we arrived, Zachary insisted on helping me inside despite my protests. My body was grateful, even if my pride wasn't. "Would you like me to stay, Ms. Silverman?" he asked as I lowered myself onto the living room sofa. I shook my head. "No, but thank you. I need to be alone right now." After he left, I sat for several minutes, gathering strength for what came next. The house felt different, emptier somehow, as if Liam's betrayal had hollowed out the space we'd shared. Using my crutches, I made my way to my home office. Everything looked normal, my desk organized just as I'd left it, family photos on the shelves, the large painting of a lighthouse hanging on the far wall, the lighthouse from our honeymoon in Maine. Liam had insisted the painting was an investment, though I'd never particularly liked it. Now I wondered if I'd been blind in more ways than one. Moving it by myself with a broken leg proved challenging, but anger provided surprising strength. When I finally managed to shift it, I stared in disbelief. There it was, a small wall safe I'd never seen before, installed directly into the drywall. My hands trembled as I examined it. A digital keypad lock. What would Liam have used as a code? I tried our anniversary date. Nothing. His birthday? Nothing. My birthday? Still nothing. Then it hit me. The date we met. Not our first date, but the day he'd accidentally bumped into me at that charity auction. I'd later learn it wasn't accidental at all. The safe beeped and clicked open. Inside were several USB drives, a small notebook, and a thick folder labeled Silverman Acquisitions. My stomach twisted as I pulled out the contents. The notebook contained dates, names, and figures, meticulously documented meetings with my clients, details about company finances that Liam shouldn't have known. The folder held copies of business contracts, financial projections, and, most disturbingly, a detailed inventory of my personal assets, right down to the valuation of my grandmother's jewelry. My hands shook as I connected one of the USB drives to my laptop. It contained spreadsheets tracking my company's international shipments, client information, and profit margins. Proprietary information that would be valuable to competitors. The second drive held something worse. Recordings. My voice. Liam's. Conversations from my home office that I thought were private. He'd been recording me for years. In one file, dated just 3 months ago, I heard Liam's voice speaking to someone whose voice I recognized immediately. Oliver Harmon, owner of our biggest rival company. "She trusts me completely," Liam was saying. "When the time comes, we'll have everything we need to take over. She won't know what hit her." "And you're sure you can get her to sign over controlling interest?" Oliver asked. "Leave that to me," Liam replied confidently. Between the prenup expiring next month and what I've got planned, she'll be out of the picture entirely. What about the others? They're expecting their cut. Melanie and Jake are handling them. Everyone plays their part. Everyone gets paid. Simple. I felt physically ill. Liam hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. He'd been plotting to steal my company, my family's legacy. And he wasn't working alone. Our entire social circle was involved. My phone rang, startling me. It was Allison. "Did you find it?" she asked without preamble. "Yes," I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. "How did you know about this?" "Because I was supposed to be part of it," she admitted. "Liam approached me 6 months ago, said there was an opportunity to make serious money if I helped distract you while they gathered information. And you agreed?" The betrayal cut deep. "Initially," she sighed. "I needed the money, Em. My mom's medical bills. But then I saw how far they were willing to go. Liam and Melanie, they're not just after your money. They want everything. The company, the house, all of it. Why are you telling me this now? Why not before? I tried to back out 2 months ago. They threatened me. Said they'd make sure I'd lose everything if I warned you. I've been gathering evidence, trying to figure out how to tell you without putting us both at risk. So, why come clean now? The accident changed things. It wasn't an accident, Emily." My blood ran cold. "What are you saying?" "The truck that forced you off the road, Jake knows the driver. I overheard them arguing about it at the resort. Liam wanted you incapacitated long enough to execute the final part of their plan." The room seemed to spin around me. "They tried to kill me? I don't know if that was the intention or if they just wanted you hospitalized," Allison said quietly. But when I realized how far they'd gone, I couldn't stay silent anymore. I thought about the timing. The accident happened just days before our anniversary. The anniversary that would mark 10 years of marriage, when our prenuptial agreement expired. "Liam is flying back tomorrow," I said. "They all are." "I know. That's why I contacted you now. You need to be ready." "Ready for what?" "They're coming to finish what they started. Liam's going to try to get you to sign documents while you're still recovering. Documents that would give him control of everything." I closed my eyes, thinking back to all the times Liam had asked about the business, suggested I not worry my pretty head about certain contracts, insisted that he handle communications with specific clients. It had all been part of a long con. "I need proof that will stand up in court," I said, my business mind taking over. "Do you have anything concrete?" "I've been recording conversations at the resort. I have videos, audio, enough to prove conspiracy. Send them to me. Now." While waiting for Allison's files, I called Judith Winters and explained everything. She listened without interruption, then spoke with the calm authority that had made her the most feared divorce attorney in the state. "Don't confront him when he returns," she advised. "Let him think you're still in the dark. We need to catch him in the act." "You want me to let him walk back into my house after he tried to kill me?" I asked incredulously. "Not exactly," Judith said. "I want you to set a trap, and I want to be there when it snaps shut." We spent the next hour formulating a plan. By the time we finished, Allison's files had arrived, videos confirming everything she'd told me and more. As night fell, I sat in my darkened living room, surrounded by evidence of my husband's treachery. 10 years of my life had been a lie. The man I loved had never existed. My phone buzzed with a message from Liam. "Landing in 3 hours. We need to talk. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I know how to make this right." "I bet you have," I thought, typing a response that would set our plan in motion. "You're right. I've been emotional. Come home and we'll figure this out together." His reply came instantly. "That's my girl. See you soon." I put down the phone and looked at the chessboard in the corner of the room. A gift from my father. "Always think 5 moves ahead," he used to say. Liam believed he was playing a master game. He had no idea who he was really up against. As I waited for morning, a strange calm settled over me. Tomorrow, Liam would walk through that door expecting to find a broken woman ready to sign away her birthright. Instead, he was going to find me. Morning arrived with the sound of a key turning in the front door. I straightened in my wheelchair, a temporary necessity given my injuries, and smoothed my silk robe. On the coffee table before me sat a pot of coffee, 2 cups, and a stack of documents Judith had prepared. "Emily?" Liam's voice called out. I heard him set down his luggage in the foyer. "In the living room," I answered, keeping my voice neutral. He appeared in the doorway, looking tanned but tired. His usual confident smile faltered when he saw me in the wheelchair, bruises still visible on my face. "My God," he said, rushing forward. I had no idea it was this bad. I raised a hand to stop him before he could embrace me. "I'm managing." He hesitated, then took a step back, adjusting his approach. "I know you're angry. You have every right to be. Going on that trip was inexcusable." "Coffee?" I offered, gesturing to the pot. Liam looked momentarily confused by my calm demeanor, but recovered quickly. "Yes, please." As he sat down across from me, I poured him a cup, my movements deliberate and unhurried. The tension in the room was palpable. "Emily, about what happened, you don't need to explain," I interrupted. "I understand perfectly." His eyebrows rose in surprise. "You do?" "Yes. The accident made me realize how fragile life is, how quickly everything can change." I gave him a small smile. "I've been doing a lot of thinking while you were away." Relief washed over his face. He thought I was backing down. "I have too. I never should have left you here alone." "No," I agreed. "You shouldn't have." Liam leaned forward, taking my hand in his. His touch, once comforting, now made my skin crawl. "I promise I'll make it up to you. I'll take care of everything while you recover." That's actually what I wanted to discuss. I pulled my hand away and reached for the documents on the table. "I've been worried about the business. With me in this condition, someone needs to take charge." His eyes gleamed with barely concealed excitement. "I've been saying that for years. You work too hard. Let me handle things for a while." "I've had papers drawn up," I said, sliding the folder toward him. "Temporary management authorization. Nothing permanent, just until I'm back on my feet." Liam tried to appear reluctant, but I could see the triumph in his eyes. "If you're sure that's what you want." "I'm sure." I watched as he opened the folder, scanning the legal documents inside. "Sign where the tabs are, and it's done." He pulled out a pen, barely skimming the text. Judith had made the documents look legitimate, but filled them with legal jargon complex enough to discourage careful reading. Just as Liam was about to sign, the doorbell rang. His pen paused midair. "Are you expecting someone?" "Just my nurse," I lied smoothly. "She comes every morning to help me with physical therapy." Liam nodded and returned his attention to the papers. The doorbell rang again, more insistently. "Should I get that?" he asked. "If you wouldn't mind." He set down the pen with obvious reluctance and headed for the door. I heard muffled voices. Then Liam returned, his face pale. Behind him walked Judith Winters, followed by 2 police detectives and, to my surprise, Allison. "What's going on?" Liam demanded, looking from me to the newcomers. "Liam Silverman?" one of the detectives asked. "Yes? We'd like to ask you some questions concerning the accident involving your wife 3 days ago." Liam's expression shifted from confusion to careful neutrality. "Of course. Anything to help." I wheeled myself slightly forward. Liam was just about to sign some papers for me. Perhaps he should finish that first. Judith stepped forward. "Actually, I'd advise against signing anything, Mr. Silverman." She turned to me. "As your attorney, Emily, I should inform you that any documents signed under these circumstances could be challenged later." Liam's gaze darted between us, comprehension dawning. "Emily, what is this?" I met his eyes steadily. This is me thinking 5 moves ahead. The detective moved closer. "Mr. Silverman, we have reason to believe the truck that forced your wife off the road was deliberately targeting her. We have evidence suggesting you may have knowledge of this incident." "That's absurd," Liam protested, but I could see the calculation in his eyes. "I was out of the country when it happened." "Which makes for a convenient alibi," Judith noted, "especially when you have co-conspirators." "Co-conspirators?" Liam laughed, but it sounded hollow. "This is ridiculous. Emily, tell them." I reached for my laptop and opened it, turning the screen toward him. "Should I tell them about these recordings instead? The ones where you discuss taking over my company with Oliver Harmon?" Or maybe the ones where you and Melanie plan how to manipulate me into signing over my assets? The color drained from his face. Where did you get those? From your secret safe, the one behind the lighthouse painting. His eyes flicked to Allison, who stood quietly by the door. You, he snarled. You told her. Allison stepped forward. I also told the police about the conversation I recorded between you and Jake at the resort. The one where you discussed the accident and complained that it hadn't gone according to plan. Liam's composure cracked. She's lying. This is a setup. We have the recordings, Mr. Silverman, the detective said flatly. And we've already picked up Jake Miller for questioning. He's been quite cooperative, hoping for a deal. I watched as the realization hit Liam. His perfect plan was unraveling. The mask of loving concern slipped away, replaced by cold fury. You have no idea what you're doing, he hissed at me. You think you're so clever, but you're just a spoiled princess who inherited Daddy's company. You didn't build anything. You don't deserve any of this. There it is, I said quietly. The real Liam Silverman. You're nothing without me, he continued, his voice rising. I made you who you are. I shaped every business decision for the last 5 years. I brought in half those clients you're so proud of. Actually, Judith interjected, according to company records, Ms. Silverman personally secured 78% of current clients. Your contribution, while noted, was minimal. Liam lunged toward me, his face contorted with rage. You ungrateful— The detectives moved quickly, restraining him before he could reach me. Liam Silverman, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, corporate espionage, and fraud. You have the right to remain silent. As they led him away, Liam kept his eyes locked on mine. This isn't over, Emily. Not by a long shot. Once the door closed behind them, I exhaled slowly, feeling the tension drain from my body. Allison approached cautiously. Are you okay? No, I admitted. But I will be. Judith sat across from me, her expression serious. This is just the beginning, Emily. The others will be arrested too. Melanie, Jake, and anyone else involved. But Liam is right about one thing. It's not over. The legal battle ahead will be ugly. I know. I rubbed my temples, feeling suddenly exhausted. But at least now I'm fighting with my eyes open. After they left, I sat alone in the quiet house, trying to process everything. 10 years of my life had been built on lies. The man I thought I knew had been plotting my downfall from the beginning. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You think you've won? We all have insurance policies, Emily. Liam isn't the only one with recordings. Check your email. You have 24 hours to drop the charges, or everyone sees what's in that video. I frowned, opening my email to find a message with a video attachment. With trembling fingers, I clicked play. The video showed me, clearly intoxicated at a company holiday party 3 years ago, making disparaging remarks about several important clients. Out of context, it looked damning. Another text arrived. There's more where that came from. Enough to destroy your reputation and the company. Your move, Emily. I closed my eyes, remembering what my father used to say. In chess and in business, the greatest danger comes when you think you've already won. This wasn't over. They were still trying to play me, to force my hand. But they'd made one critical mistake. They'd underestimated what I was willing to risk to protect what was mine. I picked up my phone and called the one person who might understand exactly what I was facing. My father's oldest friend and mentor, Judge William Harrison, who had retired from the bench 2 years ago. William, I said when he answered, I need your help. It's about Silverman Imports. And a conspiracy that goes deeper than I initially thought. Tell me everything, he replied, his voice grave. As I began to explain, I realized that Liam's betrayal might have been just the tip of the iceberg. How far did this conspiracy reach? Who else had been bought or compromised? And most importantly, who could I really trust? William Harrison arrived at my house within the hour, his imposing figure framed in my doorway. Despite being in his 70s, the former judge carried himself with the same authority that had made younger attorneys tremble in his courtroom. You look like hell, Emily, he said bluntly, setting his briefcase on the coffee table. I managed a weak smile. Good to see you too, William. He sat across from me, his piercing blue eyes assessing my condition. William had been my father's best friend and had become something of a surrogate father to me after Dad passed away 5 years ago. "Show me this blackmail video," he said without preamble. I played it for him, watching his expression remain impassive as the recording showed me slurring my words, making indiscreet comments about clients after too much champagne. "Is there anything else they might have?" he asked when it finished. "I don't know," I admitted. "I've always been careful, but clearly not careful enough." William was quiet for a moment. "You said they gave you 24 hours to drop the charges. That tells me 2 things. First, they're desperate, and second, they don't have as much leverage as they want you to believe." "What do you mean?" "If they had truly damaging material, they wouldn't give you time to strategize. They'd release it immediately." He leaned forward. "Emily, what's the worst thing they could possibly have on you? And don't sugarcoat it." I thought back through my 10 years with Liam, trying to recall any moment of vulnerability or indiscretion. There was a period about 4 years ago when I was struggling with the pressure of running the company. I was taking sleeping pills, sometimes mixing them with wine. Liam knew. William nodded. "Anything else?" "During contract negotiations with Meridian Corp last year, I may have implied we had another buyer interested to drive up the price. It worked, but it wasn't entirely Temely-ful. Common negotiation tactic," William dismissed. "What about your personal life?" I sighed. "Liam and I went through a rough patch 2 years ago. I had dinner with an old boyfriend. Nothing happened, but Liam was jealous. He hired a private investigator to follow me for a while after that." William considered this information. "So the worst they might have is evidence of some insomnia issues, standard business tactics, and a dinner with an ex. Emily, that's hardly the end of the world. But the company's reputation is built on far more than a few out-of-context videos," he interrupted. "Your father weathered worse storms, and so will you. Now let's talk about your next move." For the next hour, William helped me develop a strategy that was both defensive and offensive. When he left, I felt something I hadn't experienced since receiving that first text from Liam in the hospital. Hope. That evening, Fiona arrived with dinner and updates from the office. "The board is getting nervous," she reported as she unpacked containers of soup and salad. "Liam's arrest is all over the business news." "What are they saying?" I asked, accepting the bowl she handed me. "That they want an emergency meeting. Tomorrow, if possible." I nodded, thinking of William's advice. Control the narrative before someone else does. Set it up. "And Fiona? I'll need to be there in person." Her eyes widened. "Are you sure? Your doctor said—" "My doctor isn't fighting for my company's survival." I took a sip of soup. "What else?" "2 clients have called asking to postpone their orders pending resolution of leadership issues." I set down my spoon. "Which ones?" "Harrington Global and BTN Manufacturing. The 2 clients Liam had brought in." "Interesting timing." "There's more," Fiona said hesitantly. "Melanie's husband Jake was released on bail this afternoon. His lawyer issued a statement saying he was a victim of circumstance who knew nothing about any conspiracy." Of course he did. I wasn't surprised. Jake had always been the weakest link in their operation. "Any word on Melanie or the others?" Fiona shook her head. "Not yet, but the police are still gathering evidence." After she left, I checked my email. No further blackmail attempts. But there was a message from Judith. "Liam's attorney is requesting a meeting. Says his client has information you might find mutually beneficial. Advice: don't engage without me present." I closed the laptop and wheeled myself to the window, watching as darkness settled over the city lights. Tomorrow would be decisive. Facing the board, dealing with Liam's attorney, and deciding whether to call the blackmailer's bluff. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" "Emily." It was Melanie, her usual bubbly voice now tense. "Don't hang up." My grip tightened on the phone. "Give me one good reason. Because I can tell you exactly who's behind all of this, and it's not Liam." I laughed bitterly. "I heard the recordings, Melanie. I saw the documents. You were all planning to take my company." "Yes, but we were working for someone else," she insisted. "Someone who's been targeting Silverman Imports for years." And why should I believe anything you say? Because the police just released me. I gave them everything I had, names, dates, recordings. And in return, I got immunity. Her voice dropped. Emily, this goes way beyond Liam and me. This involves people you trust, people close to you right now. A chill ran down my spine. Who? Not over the phone, she said quickly. They could be listening. Meet me tonight. The old boathouse at your family's lake property. Come alone. You must be joking. You expect me to meet you alone after everything that's happened? I'll be alone too, she countered. And I'm taking just as big a risk. If they find out I'm talking to you, she didn't finish the sentence. Who is they, Melanie? I'll tell you everything tonight. Midnight. The boathouse. She hung up. I sat motionless, contemplating her words. It could be a trap. Probably was a trap. And yet, what if she was telling the Temily? What if Liam wasn't the mastermind, but merely a pawn in someone else's game? I called William. It's a setup, he said immediately after I explained Melanie's call. Almost certainly, I agreed. But what if it's not? What if there's more to this conspiracy than we know? Then she can tell it to the police, William replied firmly. Emily, you're in no condition to go anywhere, especially not to an isolated location to meet someone who helped plot against you. He was right, of course. And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that Melanie's call contained a kernel of Temily. Liam was ambitious and manipulative, but was he clever enough to orchestrate this entire conspiracy? Or was he, as Melanie suggested, working for someone else? I'll have Judith contact Melanie's lawyer, William continued. If she genuinely has information, there are proper channels. By then it might be too late, I interrupted. The board meeting is tomorrow. If there's someone else pulling the strings, someone who might be a board member or have influence over them. William was silent for a moment. At least let me come with you. She said to come alone. And I say that's how people end up as headlines, he retorted. Listen, I'll stay out of sight. She won't know I'm there. I considered the options. The smart choice was to ignore Melanie entirely. But when had playing it safe ever built a business empire? Fine, I relented. But stay completely hidden. If this is legitimate, I don't want to spook her. After hanging up, I sat in silent contemplation. The blackmail deadline was approaching. The board was convening tomorrow, and now Melanie was claiming there was an invisible puppet master behind it all. How much more complicated could this get? As if in answer to my question, my laptop pinged with a new email. It was from an encrypted address I didn't recognize. The subject line read simply, "What Liam never told you." With a sense of foreboding, I opened it. Inside was a single document, a paternity test dated 8 years ago, just after Liam and I were married. According to the results, Liam had fathered a child. The mother's name had been redacted, but the timing meant it had happened right around our wedding. Below the document was a message. The woman was paid for her silence. The child was given up for adoption. Ask yourself, who arranged this cover-up? It wasn't Liam. He didn't have that kind of money then. Who in your life would go to such lengths to protect your marriage? And why? I stared at the screen, my mind racing through possibilities. Could this be another manipulation? Or was someone actually trying to help me? The clock on the wall showed 10:30 p.m. In less than 2 hours, I was supposed to meet Melanie at the boathouse. And suddenly, I had a lot more questions that needed answering. As I prepared to leave, a final text arrived from the blackmailer. Time's running out, Emily. Drop the charges by morning or everyone sees who you really are. I looked at the message and felt a strange sense of clarity. They were right about one thing. Time was indeed running out, but not for me. The family lake house had been my sanctuary since childhood. Now, as Zachary drove me down the winding road toward it, the place felt ominous. Moonlight spilled across the water's surface, creating ghostly reflections of the surrounding pines. Are you sure about this, Ms. Silverman? Zachary asked as he helped me from the car into the wheelchair. No, I admitted. But I need answers. William had arrived earlier to secure the area, texting me that he was positioned inside the main house with a clear view of the boathouse. I don't see anyone yet, his message read. Still think this is a mistake. Wait here, I told Zachary. pointing to a spot where the trees would conceal the car. "If I'm not back in 30 minutes, call the police." The path to the boathouse was unpaved, difficult terrain for a wheelchair, but not impossible. The cool night air helped clear my head as I navigated carefully forward, the paternity test and Melanie's cryptic warning circling in my mind. The boathouse appeared empty when I arrived, its weathered door slightly ajar. I hesitated, then called out, "Melanie?" A figure emerged from the shadows inside. Not Melanie, but Fiona. "Hello, Emily," she said calmly. I stared at her, confusion giving way to understanding. "It was you." She smiled thinly. "I've been wondering how long it would take you to figure it out. Where's Melanie?" "She's not coming." That call wasn't from her. It was me using a voice modulation app. Fiona stepped closer. "I needed to get you alone, away from all your protectors and advisors." "Why?" I asked, though I was beginning to see the full picture. "Because it's time we had an honest conversation about Silverman Imports." She perched on the edge of an old rowing boat. "Did you look at the paternity test I sent you?" "Yes. Liam fathered a child right before our wedding." "He did?" Fiona nodded. "With me." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Fiona had been my assistant for over 9 years, always efficient, always supportive. My father had hired her himself. "You and Liam, it wasn't love," she said bluntly. "It was strategy. Your father saw Liam getting close to you, recognized him for the opportunist he was, and decided to create insurance." "My father?" I echoed. "He arranged everything. Had me seduce Liam to prove his character. When I got pregnant, your father paid for the adoption, my silence, and gave me a position where I could keep an eye on both of you." She laughed softly. Edward Silverman didn't trust easily. The pieces were falling into place, but something still didn't make sense. "If my father set this up to protect me, why are you trying to destroy me now?" "I'm not destroying you, Emily. I'm saving you and claiming what I deserve." Fiona's expression hardened. "Your father promised me more than just a job. He promised me shares in the company, a future for my child. But when he died, those promises died with him." "I knew nothing about this," I said temilefully. "I know. That's why I had to take matters into my own hands." She walked over to a cabinet and removed a laptop. Liam was easy to manipulate, so ambitious, so eager for wealth. I fed him information, guided his plans, used him just as he thought he was using you. And the others? Melanie, Jake, pawns, she dismissed. Greedy, short-sighted pawns. "The accident," I said, my voice barely audible. "Did you orchestrate that too?" Fiona's expression flickered with what might have been regret. "That was Liam going off script. He was supposed to isolate you emotionally, not physically harm you. When I found out what he'd done, I decided to accelerate my plans." "Which were what exactly?" "To expose Liam and the others, help you regain control of the company, and position myself as your indispensable ally." She smiled. "The loyal assistant who helped bring down the conspiracy. The blackmail was just to keep you distracted, to make you feel threatened enough to need my help." "And then what? I'd be so grateful I'd give you what my father promised?" "Something like that," she admitted. "But now we can skip the theatrics." She turned the laptop toward me. On the screen was a document, my father's personal journal, scanned and annotated. "Read it. You'll see I'm telling the Temile." I skimmed the entries, recognizing my father's distinctive handwriting. The journal detailed his suspicions about Liam, his plan to test him using Fiona, and most damning of all, his promise to give her 10% ownership in Silverman Imports. "What do you want?" I asked, looking up from the screen. "What's rightfully mine? Recognition of my role in the company, a seat on the board, and acknowledgement of my child's connection to the Silverman family. Your child was adopted. You gave up your rights." "I know where my son is," Fiona said quietly. "I've watched him grow up from a distance. He's 12 now. Smart, like his mother. Ambitious, like his father. One day, he should know his heritage." I considered my options. Fiona had been manipulating everyone, including me, for years. And yet, if what she showed me was true, my father had made promises to her that I, as his daughter and successor, had a moral obligation to consider. I need time to verify all this, I said finally. The board meeting is in 9 hours, she reminded me. If you go in there without me by your side, you'll face questions you're not prepared to answer. At that moment, my phone buzzed with a text from William. Police on their way. Get out now. You called the police? Fiona asked, noting my expression. A precaution, I admitted. I didn't know it was you I'd be meeting. She nodded, seeming unsurprised. Always thinking ahead. You're your father's daughter. She closed the laptop. We don't need the drama of a police intervention. I've laid my cards on the table. Now you decide. Are we allies or enemies? The sound of approaching sirens filtered through the trees. We had minutes, perhaps seconds. Come to the board meeting, I said. Bring the journal. If everything checks out, we'll negotiate terms. And Liam? The others? They tried to steal my company and hurt me in the process. They face the consequences. Fiona studied me for a moment, then nodded. I can work with that. As the police lights became visible through the trees, I realized this was never about revenge. It was about legacy. My father's, mine, and perhaps even Fiona's. William rushed in, followed by 2 officers with flashlights. Emily, are you all right? I'm fine, I assured him, my eyes still on Fiona. We were just having a long overdue conversation about the future of Silverman Imports. 6 hours later, I sat in the boardroom, commanding the head of the table from my wheelchair. Fiona stood beside me, poised and professional as always. Across from us sat the board members, uncertain and wary after the events of the past week. Gentlemen, ladies, I began, we have much to discuss about the future of this company. As I laid out my vision for moving forward, stronger, wiser, and more vigilant than before, I thought about Liam, now facing charges that would keep him behind bars for years. I thought about Melanie and the others, their social status and reputations in tatters, and I thought about the Caribbean, where this all began. Paradise lost for some, paradise reclaimed for me. I had gone through fire and emerged not just intact, but transformed. The Emily who had lain broken in that hospital bed no longer existed. In her place was a woman who understood that trust must be earned, power must be protected, and sometimes, the most important person to save is yourself. To new beginnings, I concluded, raising my water glass. As the board members echoed the sentiment, Fiona caught my eye and gave me the slightest of nods. We had survived the storm. What came next would be on my terms. And this time, I'd be watching the horizon for signs of trouble long before the clouds gathered.